What's in a name? Is it more than just a few letters and syllables? I think it is. And today we have new details on what Nintendo is calling their next console, plus the emulation battle rages on, and a secret Nintendo Switch game that you probably haven't played hits Nintendo Switch Online. So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Hope you're all doing fantastic out there. If you enjoy these videos, hit that like button. It means a lot to me and allows us to keep doing this show on the regular. And regular it is because Good Morning Mario is approaching 750 freaking episodes, which I'm very proud of. And Nintendo is proud to bring you new Switch Online titles. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this secret game, because we know about three, or at least I told you about three. It was Mario Land, Baseball, and Alleyway. That's what everybody saw in the trailer. That's what we thought Nintendo delivered, but actually a secret fourth game. And this game holds a lot of interesting gaming lore because it is the game that's the direct predecessor to Link's Awakening. You might remember Link's Awakening as a Game Boy classic and also a title on Switch redone with dazzling new visuals. It's a Zelda game with Yoshi in it, with Chain Chomp in it. It's really quite remarkable, a phenomenal early Switch release and one I highly recommend. But did you know that The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls is a game that was directly responsible for Link's Awakening? Nintendo built it on the foundation of that title, and it's now out on Nintendo Switch Online. The catch here is that it's out only in Japan, so you will need to create a Japanese account, but that's really simple, easy, and totally free. I've made a video on this. I put a link in the description down below. You can check it out. That way you can go grab this title and actually get a fourth Game Boy game, whereas everybody else around here only has three. I think it's pretty nifty, and the fact that this is a Nintendo game that really holds a lot of power in the history of the Legend of Zelda franchise is quite remarkable to me, and even features like some crossover characters in a way. So check that out if you have a chance. And also check out, or don't check out, you didn't hear it from me, that RetroArch is now on the App Store. The iOS App Store opened itself to emulators, and they're getting more and more. And in Nintendo's quest to eliminate Switch emulation and Nintendo emulation, it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses. RetroArch is now on iOS. It's not an emulator itself, but it is a front end that has a ton of different emulators. Over 75 emulators are on RetroArch, including over 22 for Nintendo consoles, and this is a very easy way to get NES, SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS, Virtual Boy, and more onto your phone. Again, you're not hearing from me that you should download this or shouldn't download this. I give no advice or recommendation on that point, but it's interesting because this battle is going to continue to increase in intensity. Nintendo has shut down Yuzu, they've shut down Suyu. They're really trying to eliminate this, and I understand the reasoning. Meanwhile, on the iPhone side of things, emulation just seems to be running rampant. So how do you factor into all of this? Are you partaking in the iPhone emulation action? Are you ignoring all of it? Does it not even matter to you? Is the NSO service enough when it comes to nostalgic Nintendo games, or do you like to carry them with you on your phone and actually pick the titles you want versus the titles Nintendo gives you? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, names. Mine is Zach. What is yours? I'm not sure. Actually, I know some of your names. One of you is Emma, one of you is Mike. There's a Jason, definitely a Tom. Probably a few of you are named Sarah, and maybe somebody named Pat. Anyhow, we also have to talk about the name of the Switch 2, which we just call Switch 2 because that seems easy. PlayStation has done PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It works great for them. Nintendo, not really so much. From the NES to the SNES, the N64 to the GameCube to the Wii to the Wii U, the only time they ever borrowed a name, Wii to Wii U, it didn't work out so well. I guess the DS and the 3DS and the 2DS and the XL and the New, those are all in the same family, and those were successful. So it's been a bit up and down for Nintendo. But Super Nintendo Switch has been tossed out there. Nintendo Switch Attach has been tossed out there, especially after YouTube posted it. And we got the rumors and the reports about the magnetic controllers. We got things like Nintendo Switch Next, Nintendo Switch Pro. Switch 2 just seems to be the one that's easy for us all to refer to it as. And apparently, Nintendo is doing the exact same thing. Leaker Midori comes in with new clutch intel after delivering the awesome Banquet update last night. By the way, if you did not see my video on a new Mario Party dropping this year, check that out. I uploaded it late at night because I could not wait for the morning. But Midori comes back and says, maybe the codename is Ounce because Nintendo is able to put stronger hardware into a portable device that is still not too heavy to use. So it is similar to the GameCube name. In conversations with developers, including Atlas and Sega over the past few years, the next hardware is using the name Switch 2 or New Switch, but I do not think that is the final name. And this indicates that Nintendo is calling it New Switch and Switch 2 with Sega and Atlas and developers. That's how Nintendo themselves are referring to this console, but Midori believes that that's not actually the final product name, that this is how Nintendo is referencing it, just like we're referencing it. Hey, we're the same. Nobody knows what it's going to be called, so developers are calling it Switch 2, fans are calling it Switch 2, YouTubers are calling it Switch 2, leakers are calling it Switch 2. Nintendo is keeping the name on extreme lockdown, or so it seems. That to me indicates that Nintendo's name might possibly be very weird. If it's just Nintendo Switch 2, then just call it Nintendo Switch 2. The fact that there is this confusion and this obscurity around what Nintendo's next console is going to be called leads me to believe that maybe they've got something freaky up their sleeves. They know that the Wii U and the Wii did not work, so perhaps they feel like a direct Switch 2 name will actually be detrimental. Even though I think it would be very clear and obvious, Nintendo might instead opt for something different. Although I think losing the Switch name entirely is a bad move and something Nintendo will not do. In fact, Furukawa basically confirms this by saying that he believes the new console is effectively a successor within the Switch family. That to me tells me it has to have the Switch name, and I think Switch 2 is the easiest way to get around people understanding what the heck this new system is all about. Switch 2 makes you know it's the new Switch. But Midori says that Switch 2 is just what they're calling it to cover up for the final name. That brings things like Super Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Switch Pro, Nintendo Switch Attach, Nintendo Switch Next, and more into the equation and really makes us think about what Nintendo is going to call this thing. I hope and I believe personally that the name will not actually dictate the success this time around. While the Wii U was definitely a blunder in terms of naming convention, there was more at play that ended up dooming that system. And in the same way, there's more at play now that will help the new system succeed besides just the name. I want to give you Nate Drake's perspective on this because he says that hardware is referred to many things during early discussions with partners. Nintendo referring to the Switch successor as Nintendo Switch 2, New Nintendo Switch, Super Switch, or any other name is not indicative of final branding. It's too simplified discussions and isn't rumor material. At various stages, the Wii was called Revolution and GameCube 2. This doesn't mean the Switch successor won't be called Switch 2, nor does it mean it will be. It's a strictly to simplify discussions between partners. It's no different than when Activision used NG Switch. And while I believe Nate Drake has good insight, and while I believe this is true, the odds of Nintendo calling it Switch 2 in discussions to simplify and then actually using that as the final name also seems very bizarre to me. Notice the example he gave with Wii. At times they called the Wii the Revolution and the GameCube 2. None of those are even remotely close to the Wii. I know that's a brand new name and not something that you can just double down on like Switch 2, but GameCube 2 and Switch 2 are actually quite comparable. So in my mind, Nate Drake's comments only further the point that this probably will not be called Switch 2. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know if you think that's jumping to conclusions, but right now, given the fact that Nintendo did not divulge the name of the system in their investor meetings, the fact that they did say it was a successor to the Switch and in the family, the fact that they're using Switch 2 and new Switch with developers, I'm now on team it's not called Switch 2. Even though I think that would be the best bet, the easiest bet, the most simple bet, sometimes Nintendo doesn't like simple. And sometimes not going simple actually works in their favor. Combining two pillars, home console and portable, into one amazing hybrid console worked wonders for Nintendo. And despite the Wii U weirdness, they've had plenty of success being quirky and using interesting names. GameCube, Wii, and Nintendo 64, Switch. These aren't the common names that we see from Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox Series X, PS2, 3, 4, 5. Honestly, I do think Nintendo could call this thing just about any name and it will be successful. It will get major third-party support, they'll have awesome first-party titles, and it will be the first foray into Nintendo 4K. But the name still is important, and I don't think it's going to be Switch 2 anymore. Let me know in the comments down below what you think the name is. I'm wondering if we've never even heard or thought of the name. I don't think it's Nintendo Switch Attached. I think that's too obvious, and I think the YouTube thing was just coming up with their own idea. I think Super Nintendo Switch is also too simple when we have Switch Lite, Switch OLED. I think it would need a more definitive subtitle to really help separate it from the pack. Or maybe Nintendo doesn't want to separate from the pack and they will go with Switch Pro or Switch Advanced, which would be pretty cool in its own right. Or maybe it's a name that we have not even heard of, but I do fully believe it will include the word Switch because it's within the family, and if it doesn't, That will blow my mind. Imagine if Nintendo ditched the Switch, went with a different name, a different sound effect, and it was called something like Nintendo Attach, and they completely did not have the Switch, and it was just like, instead of like the click at the beginning of the trailers, it was zoom, like a magnetism thing. Nintendo Magnets, Nintendo Zoom, Nintendo... Goodness gracious, this could get wild. But we'll find out soon enough. Probably later this year, we'll know the name of this thing, and I can't wait to hear it and react to it with all of you. Let me know your take in the comments down below, everybody. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay paws out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.